This is Misfortune. She has a funny face, a happy smile, and a pumpkin-shaped head.
I guess it was only a matter of time before I would come back and do my retake of it, because my old take on it was... yeah. To sum it up, I didn't like it, and that's the problem. I didn't explain why I didn't like it, and that hurt the review in more ways than I would have expected in the long run. So here we are again, doing my retake / revisit of this game, but this time, I'm putting a little disclaimer. If you do like or love this game, and thinking that this review doesn't highlight or favor the things that you like about it, or hurts the game in more ways than you would expect, then more power to you, but this is called my opinion criticism, meaning that these are my takes, and these are my opinions, and what I thought was wrong or could have done better, and how I thought this game disappoints and doesn't live up to my expectations, unlike that previous game, Flambeau. However, I do encourage you to leave your own opinion in the comments below, and let's try and have a civil discussion. Without further ado, let's take it from the top. Before we talk about the development of Little Misfortune, we need to talk about what led to it existing, that being Different Galaxy. In that game, you play as a scout kitten trying to get back to his camp and going to different parts of the galaxy along the way. Always, this idea was way too big and ambitious for just 2 people, and when they also started to notice the issue, they shelved it until their way to tackle it again. But back to Misfortune. Development for it possibly started around early 2017. Then around that time to early 2019, they recruited more people to help them out, which heavily sped up the progress with this game than if there were only 2 of them back in 2017. But it was still kept a secret until mid-2018 when they finally revealed it, Little Misfortune, a game where you play as an 8-year-old girl whose name, if I can even pronounce it correctly, Misfortune Remnes Hermdes. You play as her who goes on a quest to find internal happiness. Along the way, you'll be given choices where there's no right or wrong answers, only consequences. Always something that's both small yet simple to get done, unlike Different Galaxy. After that, they did post small behind the scenes and livestream videos on YouTube making the demo for Little Misfortune, which is interesting for anyone wanting to know how things go down behind the scenes, aka people like me. Then on April 22nd, 2019, the demo was released. Even though it was short, it was an example of what the rest of the game would be like. Then after 5 months later, the full game was fully released to the public. The reviews of the game were pretty mixed, some loving it, some hating it, and some saying that it could have been better. So what do I think of this game, you might ask? Well, let's finally talk about it, but this time, explain in detail. Unlike that last game, Flambeau, there's voice acting but only for 2 characters, with Henrik Norman as Mr. Voice, someone who acts like a father figure to Misfortune and the only one who will notice the players outside the screen, and with Natalia Martinson, one of the co-founders of Kill Monday, and the voice of
Happiness to Mr. Voice,
Misfortune, the main protagonist of the game, and the one that the player must keep their eye on. With that, let's talk about the positive. To start off, the writing here is great. With Misfortune's one could have been better in some spots, but overall great, the voice really expressing that line delivery. With Mr. Voice being my favorite, giving off that soft protector-like vibe with that British accent, and going from soft to threatening throughout the game. And with Misfortune's dialogue giving off that childlike innocence. But that voice. I'll be honest, I really don't like her voice. While it's good at both the beginning and at the end, that big middle chunk throughout the game, she is very irritating to listen to. But keep in mind, she's not bad, but annoying to listen to. The only thing I would fix or add is an option to have either the voice acting on or off. That way if anyone would like to play without any voices, similar to Flambeau, they can do it easily. one thing that still hasn't changed from my overview on these two: the music and the art style. The art style here still shines as a massive positive for this game, as it shows the improvement that Natalia has made over Frambeau, and there's still nothing I can complain about. Music here is still great, as it was done by Isaac Martinson, that also did the soundtrack for Frambeau, and just like the overview, I'll show up some tracks that I thought was good. Though, if I were the critic, it would be that some tracks are less atmospheric than Frambeau's, and more like tracks you will listen to when either jogging or walking, which is still not a bad thing, so I don't see it being a problem here. There's a lot of places that you're able to go to, but to save some time, I'll list out the main 8 areas you do go through. There's the house at daytime, the cave, the streets, the zoo, the carnival, the field, the house at nighttime, and finally, the beyond. Let's start at the house at daytime. This level serves as a small tutorial to let the players know how to move, interact, and to let them get a taste of the choices. Nice, simple, and gets to the point without it being a drag. But the problem I have is the first example of the choices. When you go down the hallway, you'll be given the hint on how to run, and when you do that, you get this.
Oh, please don't fall, don't fall. Damn it, it's all broken now.
That was a beautiful example of cause and effect.
I would say that too, but it really wasn't. I had no choice but to run, since if I try to walk, you won't move, making this moment feel scripted rather than something you did cause. And finally, once you're at the front door, you'll get these choices that do happen to pop up every now and then. They don't really do much or affect the choices in the game, other than letting you get to know Misfortune more, so I'll just ignore those down the line, and focus on what are the more important parts of the game. After leaving the woods, you come across the cave section, and I believe this is a good example of the choices, and here's why. When going deeper into the cave, you'll come across a hamster club, and then this happens.
Ugh, hamster fight.
Are you going to do something about it?
Now, if you were to interfere with it, the wobber will get away, denying you from going into the club and having to go another direction. Now, if you weren't to interfere with it, you'll then gain access to the club. It's simple, but it's the best example of the choices the game tries to make, and is really well done in this part of the game. I have nothing to complain about in this section. After what seems like nothing is happening, Mr. Voice starts talking to the player again, saying how would Misfortune die, when will it happen, and will she be able to get the eternal happiness, hoping that she can. Then Misfortune makes a very unnecessary grand entrance. After that, a lot of walking and talking starts in this level, and I would say this is the most boring part of the game. Granted, you do go to both the park and the pet cemetery in this section, but not for a good amount of time, unlike the other areas in this game. And I would say this is where the game drops the idea of the consequences. Sure, you can still make some choices, but they don't have the consequence effect like at the start of the game, making this part of the trailer seem like something they only added in to make people notice this game more. A bait, you could say. But going back to the game, after wandering around aimlessly for a short amount of time, we are now heading towards a new direction, the zoo. So we go to the bus stop, wait for one, and then hop onto one. Afterwards, we wait. One bus line later, and we're at the zoo to find the next clue on where to go. But first, we need to find a way to get in, and I chose the smart way to get in. After that, we need to find the right exhibit to look for the next clue. So we go to check the map of the area to see where we need to go. Find it on the map, and we're right here. Was expecting to check the other exhibits, but nope, straight to the area we need to go to move on. Anyway, after one sneak attempt, we head towards the shack of the place to find a key to open a gate. That'll give us the next clue on where to go. So far, I got no complaints about this area either. It's not great, but it's not bad either, but we have more a missed opportunity for an area like this. From one direction to another, we arrive at the Phantasmagoria, or just the Carnival to keep things simple. Rather than seeing things good or bad around Misfortune, the player and Mr. Voice try to line things up for her. I have to say, I think this might be my favorite area of the game. Even though not a lot is happening compared to the other areas, it's a nice change that slows down and let the player and Misfortune enjoy the moment. Afterwards, the player gets to decide on which ride Misfortune should go on, but she'll end up feeling sick either one. So okay then. After that, we go to the minigame. Yes, you heard that right. Minigame, not mini games. There's only one. The second one was a joke, but a good one at that.
Really? Alright. Well, check this out. Now with real bullets. Bonsu! I think I broke the game.
It looks like it.
Oh.
So what type of minigame is it? It's a whack-a-mole type, except switch the moles with foxes, and yes, it does become tedious real fast. Cause this is the only type of minigame you can get tickets from, and what do you do with them? You use them on this machine to get this chocolate coin to move on to the next area, and other goodies in case something else does catch the player's interest. It then recalled mine wanting the tiny skirt for the unicorn. After getting the coin, we go onto this boat ride that will bring us to the next area in the slowest way possible, and by far my least favorite part of the game, when Misfortune does nothing but talk. I know some people will find this cute, but I'm not one of those people. I thought this was one of the most drawn out, irritating part from Misfortune, cause she just doesn't shut up for more than 5 seconds, and I ended up hating her more than liking her.
I know about sushi because I have a Japanese ghost friend. By the way, can you speak Japanese? I made some translations. Do you know what this means? Kiri wa doko desu ka? So you don't know, huh? You know, I have never been outside this late by myself. Do you go outside by yourself this late every day? Are you going to eat my chocolate coin? Because I'm a bit hungry.
So after dealing with one annoying Misfortune and one boat ride later, we're in the docks of the fields, where toys, bones, and fallen down trees are all round about. Going deeper into it, Misfortune fails and gets stuck onto a branch, but suddenly out of nowhere, the monster appears as a giant hand, slowly coming to take Misfortune. Scary music is playing in the background, and the player must smash the spacebar to help her escape. They just forgot to add any sort of consequence for not helping her. Cool game. You really thought this out. So after doing something, Misfortune starts running into pure panic, and without realizing it, she has made it to Benji's hideout. Drinking his tea and reading his stuff, she finds Benji and he reveals to her who Mr. Voice really is, Morgo, a parasite that takes many of his victims into playing his game. After finding out about this, Morgul soon breaks into the cabin where Misfortune follows Benji into a secret hiding spot. Afterwards, we see Misfortune flat on her face and wonders where did Benji go. She finds a hidden door where she's too short to hop over. Needing a stool to help her get over, but getting stuck halfway to see her ass crack and starts farting. Comedy. After that is over, she follows Benji's track that leads to the backside of the forest, where Benji's bag has been torn. With nowhere left to go, the only right thing to do is to go back home. So after talking to one imaginary self, the train soon arrives. Finally, after leaving the train and walking from the streets back to the house, everything here is off. Compared to earlier that had the sun up, and now without the sun, objects around the house makes it more eerie than it should be, making it look abandoned. And when going further into the house, Morgul finally arrives, congratulating Misfortune on beating the game, and promising her she'll get both Benji and her mother if she plays the game again. Doing it, she'll be back at the beginning, replaying what happened at the start, only this time she's more aware of this. While Morgul tries to ignore her and recalling what he said at the beginning, but the more and more Misfortune does become aware of her redoing the same action, the less and less Morgul can focus, and finally has enough of her, changing the game to be something else. And this is by far my favorite part of the game.
New game. Knock knock. Who's there?
No, I don't want to play with you anymore.
Knock knock. Who's there?
You're scaring me, stop it.
As Morgul finally had enough of Misfortune, he starts breaking the door and walls that keep him from getting Misfortune, and all she can do is run back to her room and be in her hiding spot, hoping for a miracle to happen, only for Morgul to be right outside her hiding spot, and we finally get to see what Morgul looks like out in the open. And his face looks like a Mr. Potato Head. And then Benji arrives, and this is turned to an anime fight scene. I'm really feeling the horror vibe.
There's nothing you can do. She belongs to me.
10 seconds later.
Finally, after the dust is settled and Morgul is no more, everything seems to be fine. All the props are back where they were, but everything seems oddly off. Going to the front of the house, you see the mother upset with a stranger who seems to be the police with the way his clothes are designed. Going up to them, they start to phase out, upsetting Misfortune, and when going further, you'll find a dead body of Misfortune with a blanket covering over her body, giving that realization that she has been dead since the beginning, as soon as she left the house. Her fate was sealed, and there's nothing anyone could do. Soon after, Benji shows up to confirm her grief. He takes her to somewhere else, but before they go, Misfortune says one last goodbye to her mother before going through a portal. Finally, after going through the portal, you're at the place that was mentioned in Benji's notes, the Beyond. While going further into it, you do meet up with some familiar faces and friends while passing by, and I gotta say, it's quite nice to see the creatures you saw in Flambeau in higher quality, especially Itwood. Really nice to see how much both Natalia and everyone that worked on the art side of the game improved over the years. But back to the game. When you have reached the end, you are greeted with a bell. Once you have reached it, all the glitter you have used on certain things will go straight into the tree, creating the internal happiness. Once that's done, a bridge slowly appears from nowhere and leads towards the metal door. Once at the door, Misfortune will be greeted by a mysterious person, asking, "Who are you?"
I'm a little lady. Misfortune. That's who I am.
Lady Misfortune?
Yes, you could say that.
Good. Step inside. We were expecting you.
What is this place?
And just when things seem to finally get rolling,
What the hell is that?
now, for my opinion on this ending. This doesn't work, and it only gets worse the more and more you replay it, making you realize when it finally gets that chance to shine, it's over and done with within a few seconds. I know the point of this adventure is to give Misfortune's mother eternal happiness, but I think they could have done so much more with the idea of eternal happiness or the consequences. So let's talk about fixing or solving the problems I had with it. To start off, throughout the game, Misfortune should go from normal to pale, indicating that something is wrong, and could make the players more worried for her thinking they're doing something wrong. But in actuality, it's a normal part of the game. When exiting the house, the mother should give a reaction to any of these scenarios. If she leaves without telling her, the mother should do a head turn to make it seem like she heard something but goes back to doing this. Now, if Misfortune did tell her that she's going outside, the mother will turn her head towards Misfortune, giving her a head nod and turning her head back to what she was doing before. When on the beach and given the choice on what treat to take, depending on who you give the treat to, they should be the one being taken by the crows besides the dog or Misfortune all the time. After dealing with either the club or hideout, when Misfortune is coming out of the manhole cover, I will scrap her blasting out of the cover and change it to this. You will still hear her coming out, but instead of making it dramatic, it will be like this. She would instead bump her head onto the cover with a puff of glitter coming out from it. After that, the player will see her pop open the cover and see her coming out with a sad low-pitched voice saying, "Shadan." During the pet cemetery part, the puzzle should change each time you fail, with 3 being the max. I would keep the name of the puzzle, but would add these 2 to spice things up. One of them being the size of the grave, and what date did die. At the zoo area, when viewing the map of the place, I feel like the other exhibits should still be possible to walk by or be able to be explored. Cause believe it or not, I like to hear what Misfortune has to say about the other exhibits, and I want to see the unique spins on them animals, like what they did with the birds at the entrance. When at the carnival, there should be 3 different types of minigames. I would keep the whack-a-mole one, but would add these 2 in. One of them being the joke game one, but without the live bullets. And another one being a horse race style minigame, where many versions of Misfortune will have to run away from the monster. When on the Black Swan, an idea of a skip button would be nice. Since nothing really happens, and cause I don't think hearing Misfortune talk non-stop for more than 10 seconds is also a good idea. During the house at nighttime, every time Misfortune doesn't obey or follow what happened last time, the house should start to crack all around, indicating that Morgo is losing control. When Morgo finally had enough and starts to go after her, the hallway she's in should start slowly stretching when getting near her bedroom door. And finally, when finally getting to see what Morgo looks like, I would keep this, but would edit this scene to hide the face, letting people imagine what his face could look like. Alright, now this will be the ending section, so if you still don't want to get spoiled, skip to the timestamp on the screen. When Misfortune finds out she's dead, before she leaves through the portal, the shredded page from Benjamin's book appears behind her. Looking at it, she sees that there's a way for her to come back to life, but Benji turns the page around, showing her that there's a cost. For doing this, she'll never see Benji ever again, but if she were to go back to being alive, her mother would both hug her and take off her mask. Realizing all along, Misfortune was her mother's internal happiness. So this will make the player make the ultimate decision. Should you let Misfortune get her internal happiness, or should you let her mother get internal happiness? That way, both the endings and the words, "there's no right or wrong answers, only consequences," will have a heavier impact with the game as a whole. After finally playing this game again, and discussing why I don't like it, what I do like about it, what I think could have been done better, etc., I still don't like it, and I finally understand why, because this game is more focused on the story aspect than the choice/consequences, with this tree right here confirming it. The emotional journey of Blue Misfortune was designed like a roller coaster, because life itself is like one, full of ups and downs, dark and sweet moments, slow parts and rush, thrilling parts. And they're not wrong. But that's not what I originally signed up for. I signed up for the idea, the consequence, the thing that the game trailer even advertised as one of the highlights. Yet the game does so little with it. It felt like something they put in only to grab people's attention, and it's a shame that they didn't fully go into the idea. If I knew that the game was going to be more story than gameplay based, I wouldn't be so mad/upset the first time I did make my review of it. So should you play this game? Well, if you're willing to spend $30, which is a bit much for a game like this, I still wouldn't, but I would suggest getting that other game, Flambeau. It has more content and more replayability than Misfortune, but that's just my opinion. If you like story-based games, this one's for you. There, a done my retake. You can stop complaining now.